Hi, I'm Angified. I started Angified Presents.
We share the love of music.
It has been medicine and therapy. Nothing else worked.
It has saved many of us. With mental health, we need to open our eyes.
Hurt people hurt people.
We ask that you listen, comprehend, and relate with your ears.
Form that heart of unity and one.
We share on this stage.
Statistics, feelings.
And ourselves.
We stand with the belief to be you, to be heard, and to be original.
We all may be different, with opinions and beliefs.
At the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters.
We are family.
We ask that you join us in a magical journey with artists from around the world. Open your minds. Let in the love.
And listen with your hearts.
We all want a better tomorrow. Be one.
Communicate and look out for one another. And then, and only then, will you find the world.
We will
find
peace in all the world.
You'll find the world. And you will find in this shining world. Heals among us in every boy and girl. Many have been broken, red hearts turn black. Love will melt the ice and turn it back, and you will find the world. You will find the world. You will find the world. And when you find a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a whole new world, a better place for our children's futures at stake. And you'll find, with music in your soul, laughter in your hearts, together we can grow a better place, with love in us all. And you will find, together we can save it all. And you will find, and you will find a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a better place, a whole new world,
We cover digital audio workstations and music tools. We explore theory, gear, and MIDI too. How to rain, compose, and the art of arranging. Taking a look at AI and how the times have changed. On a PC or a Mac and even with a mobile device, we'll be talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin' IT. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much rev. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking IT. We're talking IT. Every Thursday night on Angified.
Very cool.
So now we're going to look at drums, which aren't like your typical acoustic drums, although a lot of these really try to give you the feel of an acoustic drum with the convenience of digital sets and signal.
Yeah. That's the main thing is, again, just being able to control just one signal out if you want to, and separate it to others if you if you wanted to do it the other way, that's all fine too. But it all depends.
To the Talkin Shhh I.T computer.
There it is.
All right, let's see what we've got here for our drums night. Almost all freshies. I mean, there's a couple of channels that are go-tos for us, but 3 or 4 new drum centric channels that are awesome. And to start, Alejandro Cifuentes, he's going to explain why drums have an advantage. I mean, he says better. I would say has an advantage against acoustic drums, and that's kind of how I wanted to start the conversation with drums, because in the old days, as convenient as drums can be, there was a lot lacking in them until the last decade. Some of what we saw last week with that Zildjian cymbal, like the final frontier of drums is finally being solved.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Alejandro's gonna show us the benefits when you do go the drum route. And then now Alejandro is also one of the instructors and drum experts over at Drumeo, and I couldn't ignore Drumeo because as far as best drum channel on YouTube, this is it. Anybody wanting to learn drums at any level, these are all the drum experts at your beck and call. That's going to be from at Drumeo. He's going to give tips for when you start playing with electronic drums, because it's
different
like the acoustics.
Yeah.
And I couldn't ignore this one, because this is like if I had all the money in the world and you wanted the absolute best choices out there, the professional serious drummer in 2025 is going to be looking at one of these kits. And some of them, we saw the Zildjian, they're a little bit pricey, but the technology that they're putting into these acoustic sets is incredible.
Yeah. Love to hear them, see what they got.
Yeah, and that one's going to be coming from the ultimate horse's mouth, Sweetwater.
Yep.
They know professional drums.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to include this one because after NAMM this year, a lot of drummers were raving about this. And, it's nice to see occasionally the small companies still being relevant in this kind of world, because it does seem like the big companies, the Zildjians, are now gonna come in, but F Note has this digital kit that blends the best of both and easy to transport. One of the things the drummers are loving is setup with this is instant.
Yeah, just looking at those stands, that looks like it's going to be a lot easier, and it's good bracing. Keeping the drum kit where you put it rather than having it tip over or feel wobbly or whatever.
Yeah, that's another thing a lot of them who tested it said is it's like sturdy as hell.
Yeah.
And this one, this is probably the kit. If I do go down the digital drum, like I want to learn them, I really do. This is more in my price range. And as far as 399 or 599, the two Elise's kits he's going to show you here, you get a little more bang literally with the 599, and I think I would stretch the dollar, but he's going to show like, at this bottom level budget, you can get an awesome kit.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a fan of the symbols though. Just like you said,
Yeah.
the symbols are my turnoff, but we're talking $500.
Yeah. And again, we're also talking about learning something. We're not talking about, this is what I'm going to bring gigging every week starting tomorrow. This is what I want to get to work on my technique and get so that it's, comfortable to sit in front of a regular drum kit anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. I think if I was really a performing drummer, I wouldn't be looking at the $500 kits at that point, because durability and everything else does matter when you have to put it on stage.
Exactly. And reliability.
Yeah, yeah. And when you are dealing with digital equipment and moving it on and off stages, that's a little more sensitive than, your traditional acoustic equipment.
Yep. But be careful with it anyway. Be careful with it all.
That's going to be coming from Cooper Drummer. And for the final video, I've got a little homework project. Cole Seth, one of our Patreon supporters and good buddies in the music room. We covered the finger banging a couple weeks ago, and he went and bought the Contact Machine, which has been. I really want to get into the Contact library, and I want the 88 key weighted controller, but it has this built into it, and Cole needs to get this set up, and I need to know what I'm going to be dealing with. So this is going to be a tutorial and an introduction into what the Contact Machine can do.
And that would be the question, is if he's looking to use it mostly for, coming up with drum beats and using it all as drum stuff, or is it for loops and, not quite DJ stuff, but you know what I mean? Like putting things together.
He's probably going to do both, knowing him.
And I'm sure he can do both for sure.
He's going to be using it for his next album. Now that he's done with Stellar Illusions, the next album, this is the toy that's going to help him drive it.
Nice.
Yeah, that one's going to be
upgraded toys, upgraded tools.
That one's going to be coming from one of my favorite reviewers of all time, not just with music, but Sanjay C. Best reviews on equipment, and in this case, tutorials. Like, this is how you set up one of these.
All right.
Every Thursday night.
Just like tonight, another Thursday night.
And tonight's going to be a little different. This is definitely the most different of shows that we've done yet. We're only going to be looking at one video tonight. Normally And before we get started, I'd like to say, IT is meant to be an educational channel. This is not for profit. It is meant to learn and explore. That's always been our mission. That's why we pick a theme every week. We try to find shorter videos, 5 to 15 minutes, that help to explain and teach the themes, the topics that we're exploring, and
And to spotlight the channels that they come from.
yes, that's always been one of the first priorities right from the beginning. We've been doing it now for 5 years, and um, amazingly, we've never really had any problems. In 5 years, we've looked at thousands of videos from hundreds of channels. We've never had a channel directly complain to us. We had one instance about a year back where a channel did a takedown on our episode with YouTube, which ironically the video we spotlighted that night was on a VST plugin, and it was pretty much advertisement for their product. And we did encourage people to check out the plugin, check out the channel, but this particular channel um, didn't want to allow anybody to reproduce their content at all. So YouTube took it down with no questions asked from us. It was just basically, we're taking this video down. That's been the only instance that we've ever had in 5 years. What kind of pushed this episode tonight is last week at the end of our episode, our stream was taken down, and it was for community violations, for the use of third party content, something we've done throughout our series. And we've always put in the descriptions and pointed to the content we're using, the channels that are the content creators of that content. And our purpose is to discuss the videos. We discuss them going in, and we discuss them going out. And I kind of like that format, because with the shorter videos, it's nicer to just let the lesson play out without interfering with it. You know, we're being told to put our faces on top of the videos and talk on top of the videos, pause them, and make it more transformative, which I can understand. That does make it more transformative by adding ourselves on top, but it doesn't always lend to the learning process. So I don't always want to have to interrupt educational video just to make a comment, just to make it transformative. I do like being able to hold my thoughts till the video finishes, and then give our thoughts on the video. I
Exactly.
hope in the future we don't have to change that format too much, because with the shorter videos, I feel like it's more distracting to break up the education when it's 5 minutes long.
Right. And that's the
And
thing is, with the longer videos, like something that we have for today, it makes more sense to pause at certain points, because there will be a lot of things that we'll want to go over. If we tried to save them all till the end, we would, and undoubtedly forget some, or, what have you. Whereas pausing partway through could be helpful.
yeah, and this video kind of lends itself more to that approach, because it's a discussion. It's a back and forth, and there are moments where it's good to pause the discussion and chew on the information a little bit. So we're going to do it a little different tonight, and I did reach out to the channel. Let's go to the IT cave and take a look,
I'm going
see
to go
what
from over
we've
here.
got here.
There it
Oh,
is.
and I gotta whoosh my way this way so I can see what we're looking at.
There you
Um, I did reach out to the channel. I let them know, this particular video, it couldn't have come at a better time for me. it is something that we're dealing with. Many other YouTubers. I went down the rabbit hole over the last 2 nights to see, is is this going on as much as people say? And yes, hundreds of content creators out there over the past month or so have all of a sudden been getting hit with community guideline strikes and copyright strikes in a lot of cases on content that they've had up for years. And why all of a sudden is this starting to happen? And it's clear there's policy changes going on, not just on YouTube. I mean, you're seeing it on all the platforms are starting to change their policies, mostly because of AI and things of that nature. But they're not always being transparent about these policy changes. You just kind of realize they're happening because now all of a sudden you're seeing these actions being taken.
Now, in some cases, I would also put it that there is such a flood of new video coming on YouTube every single day, right? And to stay ahead of that wave, I'm sure that with the tools they had to, as things are being posted up, they're concentrating on the newest stuff that's hitting. So as you're saying, some of these things are from years ago. Some of this could be the tools catching up with the backlog, where the
Yes.
tools have been running on the new content up, but now they're actually able to chew through all that and start working back through everything that has been queued up for so long.
Yeah, it's becoming evident that it's not just humans back there doing all the work to put out these strikes. The AI is getting involved, and it's it does not care about context or details. I tried to dispute last week's takedown. I said, we're an educational channel. The episode was all about learning about IR and how it works in music technology, and that was not enough for them. They took the video down anyways. And thank God we actually do record our episodes separately, because if I was one of those poor users out there who only have their recordings up on the platform and the platform takes it down with no warning real fast like that, you lose your content. And I'm not one to accept like losing the content that I created. If it's not allowed on a platform, then that's what we're going to do, is figure out what's allowable on the platform and what's not.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that the content should get nuked.
Right. And us having the content, and again, if it's not hosted on the platform shouldn't care anymore. And it's more a question of we could use it in other content in the future if we wanted to, and
Yeah.
to synthesize it into something else.
And in the case of that one takedown that we did have,
Mhm.
it was 5 minutes of a 3-hour episode.
Mhm.
I would have gladly just removed that 5 minutes for the rest of the acceptable episode, but that wasn't an option.
Yeah. And even in those cases, we could even still keep the lead in and the lead out, like you were saying, where we introduce the channel, talk about it, and then just not show the video, say,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys can go check it on this channel and talk to, and
And-
that way it's still in the right place in the episode and people can go follow that lead for themselves.
And after chewing on all this information we're about to look at, that was one of my considerations on, how can we deal with this? And I thought about, like, maybe going the approach of just mentioning the video, mentioning the channel, and telling our users, like, here is a good source for this information,
Mhm.
without showing the video. But I I really can't see that as being as effective and as educational if we're talking about a video that the viewer hasn't seen.
Right.
Um,
And even if we
it,
were to take a small excerpt, I mean, I'm not even sure if that would even be preferable to the channels for us to
and
take a small chunk just to give, a
and
teaser. Here's what it's like,
and that's a possibility on the right videos where, like, the crux of the information is in this one little part, and but at the same time, it doesn't do justice to the education that the videos we tend to pick, what they're teaching you. If it's a video on something and there's 3 steps, and we only show the intro and don't actually go through the steps, or we only pick one step to clip.
And that's why
it,
I am not a fan of the clip idea. Like, I would rather present the content as presented and just discuss it as we do, or not present the clip at all and just discuss the clip and, show where the clip is, show the page, discuss, where it comes from, and then be able to discuss it from there.
Yeah,
For me,
if
problematic.
I was going to take the clip approach, then I wouldn't be looking for 5 to 15 minute videos. I would go after the longer videos and then find, because that's always a problem. Like, yeah, especially last week, most of the best videos just explaining IR were 40 to 50 minutes. I could have clipped segments of those and got them down to 5, 10 minutes. But I was fortunate and I found good videos from good channels that did fit into our time constraints.
Right. And much like with movies, and you watch a movie trailer, and if all the best parts of the movie are in the movie trailer, then you go see the movie and you're disappointed, right? So same kind of idea happens
Yeah.
here, where if you're going to clip out the 3 things that you like the best out of this video to present, to get people to go watch it. If they go watch it and then realize that those were the 3 things, the only 3 things they really needed to know from the video, and the rest was all, not filler, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They might just say, oh, well, why did I watch the whole video if I only needed these 3 little chunks, that whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, and another thing I've been told is, um, reach out to the content developers and the channels and ask them for permission, which I'm all for. The only tricky thing with a lot of this is not all content creators communicate through YouTube. I can barely keep up with my bell and messages. The big channels, they get so much noise coming from their YouTube messages that things get lost in the shuffle there, even if you're trying to put it in the comment or contacting them directly. Uh, because we do this every week, and I don't usually get a chance to even start doing research on a topic till maybe Monday or Tuesday before that Thursday. And the internet does not communicate at light speed the way people think. I did ask in this case if we could on Tuesday. You know, I was hoping within the couple of days I might see a response, but given how big his channel is and how much work he has, I can understand that uh, probably hasn't even seen it. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we put in all the information, all the description. We're going to do our best to encourage you to go and check out this resource, because if you are a YouTube content creator, what we're going to look at tonight, these channels are as much a necessity as Miss Crystal. The kind of channels that it's very easy to recommend, because these are the channels that we use for information and to go look at. So all of our viewers should check them out.
Definitely.
And for tonight's channel and tonight's video, this is going to be coming from Sean Cannell, and the channel that I came across this. It's not a new channel to us. I've gone to. He's got several different channels. I've gone to one of his channels for camera reviews, equipment reviews. He gives great information for the content making side and what gear and things of that nature. But this channel at Think Media Podcast, this one is more orientated towards growing your YouTube channel, making a success out of your content on YouTube. How small channels make big money on YouTube. He's an author, a speaker, and he really is one of the online experts at building a channel up. The videos, they're all super useful information for anybody trying to build a YouTube channel. And in this particular episode that we're going to be looking at tonight, he's going to be talking to Tyler Chow. She is a law for creators. She has kind of shifted her attorney work specifically to content creators, and a lot like Miss Crystal. We've got a channel here that really focuses on the legal side of being a content creator. The advice and the details she's going to give in this when it comes to dealing with YouTube, working with YouTube, and the rights and wrongs of what you can use, it is something everybody should understand. And unfortunately, you're not going to get that information directly from the platform. They don't explain things properly. Uh, there's a lot of mystery to their algorithm. I'm not convinced they even know exactly how their algorithm works
I'm
anymore.
pretty sure that's where I am on that too. And it's not, I don't fault them for that. It's just things do, like I said, there's so much that is, added so quickly, and things are changing so fast. I mean, in the 5 years that we've been doing this, AI went from something that was kind of a novelty thought back in the beginning to just being everywhere right now, and can be problematic in so many ways. So it's important to be up to date on what's going on and to watch everything with a critical eye. I mean, understanding that it's so easy to fake so many things with AI right now, that anything that you're looking at, you've got to question whether or not the information is accurate or not. And when we're doing educational things, it's a lot easier because we're watching educational things. But when you're trying to look at things that are, say, more divisive, it's important to be sure of what you're watching.
Yeah, and she will mention how the exceptions that YouTube has in some cases. Educational is one of the top ones for exceptions when it comes to some of these rules. Education, parody, um, these are the approaches that tend to get exceptions because of what they're providing. And I guess the trick for us is to prove we're educational. So, we're gonna probably have to emphasize that a little more in our descriptions, our disclaimers, that we are an educational channel. We're here to learn and teach together.
Now, just remember, there will be a quiz at the end of this video.
That's how you know it's educational. You get a test.
It's important.
Yeah. Oh, every time I hear that, it gets me thinking.
Over there, over there, over
Oh, no, I got to flip.
It's okay.
Which way should I
It's
look?
fine. We'll go this way today. So happy Thursday. We're back.
Yeah, and it's
Juneteenth. That's right.
a federal holiday
That's
now.
right. On this Thursday, Juneteenth.
Yeah. And we're gonna get back to a little bit of the IT tonight. We're bringing the IT back.
Got to bring it on some Thursdays. Sometimes it's music stuff. Sometimes it's IT stuff. Sometimes it's just nonsense.
Well,
But, today, IT stuff.
tonight I wanted to ask who's the boss, except it's who's the OS, because operating systems, kind of going down another rabbit hole. Every couple of years, things change, and Windows 12 is due out this fall. And what I'm seeing is a lot of people, every time a new version of Windows comes out, or sometimes on the Mac side, you get a lot of users who they hear what the next operating system is going to do. They don't necessarily like the directions that Microsoft and Apple go. And you start to see users that are like, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna go to something else, or I'm gonna switch from Windows to Mac. In the music world, that's a big thing. So we're gonna take a look at the operating system in a music machine and um, which operating systems really are good choices when it comes to your music machine.
hmm And again, I've always been a PC guy, but I also have worked with people who use Mac for the music stuff. So I see the value in both and I see the reasons for using both. I see more reasons why people go to the Mac side in terms of reliability, in terms of if they are planning on sticking with Mac environment software, then that's great, silo to be in. But if you want to be more open source, then the PC side is probably more for you. But again, those are just very, basic level observations.
Yeah, they all come with their caveats
Mhm.
and their disadvantages, and there is no perfect choice. There is just your personal best choice.
And think about who you're going to be working with is another thing to think about just in terms of compatibility. If everyone you're working with is a Mac user and, you decide you want to go PC, that's fine, but you might have things that are going to be, not incompatible, but more of a process if you're going back and forth with files, for example.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a big consideration. You shouldn't just be thinking of yourself there if
Mhm.
you are gonna be working with others, especially in an environment like that. Good to make your decisions based on your environment.
Mhm. Yep. And your
Otherwise,
environment can change, you might work
you
with
might,
three different bands and all that. So yeah, find good compromises.
yeah, you can force yourself into a corner sometimes by going with something that doesn't necessarily jive with everybody you're going to be like moving files around with, and especially with DAWs, when it comes to recording software, there's only a few of them that are really taking care of each of these different operating systems, and we're going to see some of that tonight. The one that has been in the back of my mind is Studio One
Sure.
and Presonus, and um, that's one of my most compelling reasons to consider the Mac side, the Linux side, and um, the DAW that I might use because I really would like to get into their control surfaces and their hardware,
Mhm.
but it's not created equally across all the platforms.
Sure. I mean, we use the Personas out in Pennsylvania there, and we use it with a PC. And we mostly use Capture because we're just trying to catch studio sessions essentially when we're mostly out there doing live work and just catching whether it's a full drum kit or whether it's just around the room, everybody playing and a couple of mics in the room, just to try to get a studio capture that's not just a mic in the middle of the room, so that we're able to do some leveling and all of that, but not necessarily a full-on studio, a fully isolated every instrument session. But it's all there to do that. So we have the ability to do that if we want to, but we also usually just do it as using Capture to just get a rough capture. But we can use the tools in Studio One to do everything else with it after.
Yeah, I like their approach of like how they deal with the capturing side of recording versus the production side and how they separate them.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a ton of tools, and a lot of the tools that you would use in the post, processing would get in the way of what you're trying to do when you're just trying to do a quick session. And they're not the things you need to see when you're just trying to get these mics on and these things on the right channels, for example. So it's better to have an interface that is streamlined for this is mainly about getting it all in here, and then the other one is mainly about what you do with it once you got it.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that approach too.
So let's see what we've got lined up for tonight
Mhm.
to the IT cave. Yeah, we're getting good at this. To get started, I've got two shorter, quick videos just to, cover what a machine actually is nowadays. Hardware hasn't changed drastically in our like lifetimes, but there are new things that kind of change the considerations. And for the first video, it's a real quick one on just what makes up a computer and the things that you should be considering when you like are getting one that apply to music. So as you can see there, like all of these things play a part in your music production machine.
Now, one of the
And,
earliest computer certifications that you would get would be A+ certification, which was about basically basic computer knowledge, which probably this video will probably cover most of.
yeah, well, this first one is just like this hardware does this
Mhm.
hardware does that.
Yep.
It's nice and straightforward. And I think it's important when it comes to like how people perceive what hardware does. The reason why I wanted to start with that is because I've through the years I've dealt with clients and people who kind of confuse what RAM is and hard drives
Right.
and now the GPU and the CPU. And um, I don't feel like they always understand like where these things play into, especially on a music computer,
Yeah.
where like what gets loaded where. And I hear people like, oh, I've got 2 terabytes of RAM. Uh, no, you don't. You have 2 terabytes of storage. And, it's always been that confusion of where things are being stored.
And it's
And,
also
and
it gets more confusing as time goes on because even as we talked about the other day, a 6 terabyte memory USB key could technically be considered 6 terabytes of memory. I mean, it's memory, right? Because it's on the USB
but
key.
but it's not random access memory that disappears at the end of the session.
Right.
So
And
the
and it doesn't work the same way. So it's not, it's not stuff that your computer can think about at the same time. That's more the way to think about working RAM.
Yeah, yeah. And this channel is gonna get a 2 for tonight, because I did want to cover the hardware, which they do a great job of real quick, and then I wanted to cover the operating systems because that's really tonight's theme and what we're going to be focusing more on. The
Sure.
operating system is something that we sometimes take for granted or we get forced into it, not by choice, but by the fact that that's what came with the computer. Um, People don't always choose their operating systems. Sometimes their operating systems choose them.
And
And
again, sometimes it's the environment. So, again, who you're working with and what you're collaborating, what you're expected to collaborate with can make a big difference in your choices here.
yeah. And a big part of the discussion tonight is going to be about which of these environments is a better choice for a musical environment, because that's where we come from here.
Yep.
So that's going to be coming from at Bite Sized Explainer, and that's what they do. They explain things in nice little information chunks, and these 2 videos are definitely important chunks to get started tonight.
Nice.
Then we're going to shift to the bigger questions. The debate that will probably go on until the 22nd century. They will still be fighting about it 100 years from now, I'm sure, as to Windows or Mac. Like those are the first 2 that always get talked about when it comes to music machines. And there's a lot of reasons for both. And why I chose this one, I love he keeps a fair balance. I almost went with the approach of one video coming from a Windows guy and one coming from a Mac guy, but like I've seen tons of those videos, and when you have somebody who's like hardcore one side, they don't always tend to look at things open-minded as to the benefits and disadvantages. They just swear by that operating system. So, um, Get Beautiful Recordings, which gotta love the channel name. That's what I want is Beautiful Recordings. Is going to give a fair, balanced explanation
Nice.
of both.
One thing I was going to mention is that some of the tools can be used on both PC and Mac. Now they'll be more effective on one versus the other, but there is some cross compatibility. What I would love to see at some point is somebody focusing on those tools in both environments to see because that way you get people who can bridge the gap. So if you are in an environment where you have diehard Mac users and diehard PC users, you could do something where you get everybody on the same page at least in some ways.
And the options are better than they've ever been. There are some decent DAWs that do work across the three platforms we're going to talk about. And, you know, those are the best considerations if you do think that you're going to be working with people with different operating systems on different platforms.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
Because you can waste a lot of time in translating things back and forth, and that can also introduce a lot of errors as well. Timing errors, all kinds of things can, pop up with, trying to go cross-platform, use of, just all kinds of things.
Yeah, well, and it can get buggy when you are moving files across them. It's not perfect, but we're in pretty good shape. I've been trying to do that for 30 years. And the last decade has really started to consolidate the different operating systems to what you're using them for.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this one I wanted to include afterwards as a follow-up to, like, if you are buying a new machine, something we've covered a few nights on here, and um, what are the considerations and what are the mistakes that you could make in choosing your PC or your Mac? And the reason why I really like this one, it's coming from Presonus channel, Presonus Audio Electronics, and here he talks about the considerations in regards to some of the Presonus equipment and some of the plugins that I happen to use and that I want to get. So I'm kind of curious as to how the Presonus Surface controllers and things like that, some of the VSTs that they bring in Studio One, how that differs across these two platforms.
Right.
Because I'm getting some Presonus gear into this
Oh yeah.
room.
We're gonna make it happen.
Yep, yep. And then for the last three, we're gonna shift over to the Linux side. After we get done talking about Windows and Mac, which there's tons of conversations out there about those two. Um, the Linux music machine is a trickier one that you do see a lot of conversation out there about it, but they it always feels like they're waiting for Linux to finally like catch up and be ready. And this particular video has some good news in regards to driver support in Linux, which is the main killer when it comes to choosing Linux as an audio machine. If you're buying high-end audio devices, Focusrites, Presonus, in the past, they didn't make drivers for the Linux side. They kind of just ignored Linux and really focused on Windows and Mac. But now that Presonus is pushing out a Linux version of Studio One, um, and Focusrite is also jumping on board with getting drivers exclusively for Linux. That's kind of a game changer on that part of the consideration.
Being
So
recognized at that level, sure.
yeah, well, and being able to take advantage of what that equipment can really do if you don't have dedicated drivers. And he's going to explain, like, just because it's USB and connects to the operating system and functions technically as the device is supposed to, whether you're getting the features that some of these audio devices have, the zero latency and all of that depends on good drivers.
Exactly.
So,
Drivers are very important.
yeah, Michael Horn's going to be explaining that and giving us some news on this new support that you're going to start to see in Linux, which is going to have me setting up at least one Linux box to really explore what it can do with music.
The other conversation that we had at one point about music machines and compatibility was using virtual machines in certain ways, whether it's for just doing file conversions or being able to get into, on a PC into a Mac environment so that you could get files from a Mac user and do things with them and then get them to the PC from there.
Yeah,
We
and
that as a possibility.
and we have run Mac over in our virtual machines here, and I've had to do it a couple times for some projects where I had to convert a bunch of GarageBand files. Didn't have a Mac, but did could put a Mac operating system on, bring up GarageBand, convert the files, and do everything that I needed to do inside of a Windows environment. And
Yep.
and after we get through that, and we're going to look at a little Kickstarter guide that Absolute Vending Machine put together on on getting a Linux audio production workstation and some software, some things that you're going to want to consider. He's going to mention the DAWs that are available over there, and what you're going to have to do to prepare to make a music workstation in Linux.
Yep. Because there will be tweaks, just like with any other machine. A Mac would need tweaks, a Windows machine would need more tweaks, and the Linux machine obviously would need some things in order to
Yeah,
get
well,
things going, right?
the Windows definitely needs some tweaking, which we do have some past episodes just about that.
Just about that. It takes episodes for that because there's a lot there. Yeah.
Yeah. And to finish it off, we are going to take a look at the virtual machines because I do actually have my virtual machine loaded here with 4 operating systems. And I'm going to show you those operating systems as we watch this one. It it shows 4 modern Linuxes that they're trying to get those Windows converts. You don't see as many people convert to Linux from the Mac side. I mean, it does happen. It's not as common,
Right.
but the Windows conversion rate, every time Windows does come out with a new version, and every time Microsoft sets up new things that I don't like. I don't like being forced into a Microsoft account to log into my operating system. Part of the reason why I go and look at these every couple of years is alternate operating systems for machines that I don't need all the bells and whistles of Windows. I'm not running like my Adobe software or, some of the exclusive software that you kind of can't run effectively on Linux. A general machine that's just for productivity, just for using the internet, I can't see why more and more people aren't switching to either a flavor of Linux or, the Chromebooks. These are
For me, that would be
the
a Raspberry Pi. Even if you're just browsing the web, I mean, a Raspberry Pi. I use Windows on Arcade emulator, so I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with something that small using some flavor of Linux on there. I'm sure.
yeah, and the Pi Linux is an awesome, very effective, compact Linux.
Right. Exactly. Because it knows that you're only going to be doing these things with this small amount of hardware. So there's very few variables for them to have to deal with.
Yep. So Coding Byte's going to show us a couple of Linux distros that are really starting to get attention because they're Windows like. And not all of them are actually Windows like. As you're going to see, I'm going to bring them up. They do kind of cater to both the Windows and the Mac users, depending on the distro that you go with. But it's an interesting alternative if you don't want to get tied up in the ultra security that comes with these bigger operating systems, forced, in some cases, forced obsolescence. Uh, some of these will actually run on 15 to 20-year-old machines. There's one in here that will run on the original Pentium. So
Nice.
yeah, almost included a another video on a version that I was looking at that they got down to a fit on a floppy, and I was like, "Ooh, I wish I had this back in the day."
I might still have some of the computers from back in the day hiding somewhere in a closet, because instead of getting rid of old computers, I would just kind of upgrade to a new machine and then put the old one aside as a backup and just forget about it years later. So I have many old machines that we could test that theory on. One thing
Yeah.
about the different distros feeling like Windows or feeling like Mac, if they're trying to get that, they have to walk a fine line because they can't, violate copyright of making it look too much like Windows while trying to make it look enough like Windows to make people feel like it feels like Windows. So I
That's
get
where
where they
you
have that line.
that's where you need to be careful, because I did look at some distros that actually mirror Windows. In some cases, there's one that actually took the graphics from Windows, which it's not a legal Linux. They're in the middle of a battle with Microsoft because they went and used the actual resources of the operating system to remake the operating system to look like Windows, and go figure, they charge a license which is as expensive as Windows. I'm like, why would anybody fall for something like that?
I mean, the only thing would be to have control. Like by that, you're paying the license fine. So but you're saying I have control of the content now. Nobody would, but if they would, that would be the reason I would see.
Yeah, I think a lot of the ones who are considering getting away from Windows now with Windows 11 and when 12 comes out is, um, Microsoft is really starting to take control of your data at the hard drive level. They're pushing for everybody to use their BitLocker compression or their encryption, and um, insisting that you synchronize your data to their cloud. And these are things that great to have those options, and I could see suggesting that to like business level users and people who really do want to have maintenance taken care of for them automatically like that. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to shove all my data in the cloud. That's one thing that I've been selective with over
Yeah.
the last 15 years. Not everything needs to be pushed out to the cloud. That's where the hacking and they say it's more secure. No, like when it gets out to the cloud, then you have to keep your fingers crossed that they're securing your data on their servers.
Yeah.
Every time you hear about like these big hacks that are going on, it's because the hackers got access to the data on somebody else's servers, not on your machine.
Right. And the other thing is that is the being selective about what goes up there isn't always about, whether the data is sensitive or not. Some of it can just be about you don't want to overload the storage. I mean, you only get so much online storage anyway. So I don't want
Yeah.
automatic storage because I don't want a lot of just stuff that I don't need up in there to be up there. Like I take pictures of random things and just, delete them when I'm done, whatever. They don't have to go up into storage. So there's no reason to have things automatically go. I'll put things up there when I need to and when I want to. But I'm more of an advanced user when it comes to that. I used to be a network administrator. So I'm definitely considered an advanced user in this regard. And backups and all that kind of thing. We know how to maintain things in multiple copies, offsite, all that kind of stuff.
And would you want to back up your multiple terabytes of games
Right
to the cloud? Like,
right. And when it comes to music, I have so many recordings of so many songs, like even just Grateful Dead archives, where it's multiple concerts of the same songs. Like if something goes, oh, we can deduplicate your hard drive. It's like, no, because I have tons of duplicates of things that I want duplicates of, So it's, don't help me. I'll do what I need to when it comes to storage. And for that, I would always use Winderstat. Was the one that was always just amazing for cleaning up storage. Like Winderstat gives you a good visual, folder by folder, what's taking up all your space, file by mousing over. You can see, oh, there's the problem. Let me go fix that.
Oh, believe me, Winderstat is like getting a real test with me the last couple of weeks, because with all the emulation station,
Oh yeah.
and I went from having 12, 20 terabytes of free space to I could use another 4 or 5 terabytes as I'm shuffling and organizing things. And Windor Stats has actually been a real big help to figure out like
It makes the job almost impossible without it. Like if you think about what you've done with Winterstat, and then you look at how long it would have taken if you had to do that without it. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to. But trying to approximate what you would do with that is just, because of the visual nature of it, because the way you're able to see the data, it really does help with that, I think.
Yeah. It's helping me to take some of those drives that like I just backed everything up. I don't delete data. I just take the data and put it somewhere and say I'm going to sort it one day and never end up getting to it. Just keep buying more drives. Winterstat is helping me to actually like go through some of that and say, well, okay, I've got about 10 terabytes here of junk.
Even old PST files. Like I have old PST files from,
Oh, the Outlook.
yeah,
The
from
Outlook
corporate
file.
days. From corporate days, I have old PST files, and keeping those for several years after leaving the job was important. But at a certain point, it's like there's no way anyone's ever going to need something from an email, from my email that's in my PST files from 15 years ago, let's say.
I actually pulled up a PST file of mine from the 90s because it had a couple of software licenses that I bought Kali back in like 1998, and I wanted to use it at one point, and I'm like, son of a bitch. The only
You had
place
the
I have the
license?
license file is in this old Outlook.
For me, that would be I have like each hard drive I was talking about, go to a larger machine. It's usually such a large jump in storage from one machine to another because it's such a long
You
time
just
before I upgrade.
carry it over.
I just bring the whole thing over. So I have, on a new 4 terabyte drive, I would have a folder that has the old 400 gigabyte drive or whatever. There'd be something taking up 5-10% of the drive. That was everything that was in my old machine. But I have now all this other space that's now free. So I would go from there. But games do take up a lot. Music takes up a lot. Videos take up a lot. Videos of live music take up a lot. So for me, I'm always
Yeah. In the old days when I was ripping all my CDs, that's where getting a new hard drive became a necessity all of a sudden because I like to compress my MP3s at the highest resolution. So it's like, ooh, my entire CD collection of 2,500 CDs takes up a hard drive.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were my CDs. I purchased them.
Exactly. They're all in a box right over here. I can show you.
Yeah, I wish I had actually kept the CDs because at the time, MP3 sampling wasn't as good as it is now and didn't go as high. So I ripped that whole thing, spent like months doing it at like 128, which at the time was like great, but
the question is, what kind of failure rate would you get off of audio CDs now after that many years? I mean, they're probably still pretty good, but 100%, 95. I mean, what kind of rate do you think you would actually get really good rips from CDs from that long ago?
The irony is, if I wanted to rip a CD now,
you don't have a player.
Don't have a CD player. All these machines here. This one actually does have one, but it doesn't work so good anymore.
No cup holders. Yeah. I mean, I remember the backpack CDs, there was the external CD from way back that would plug into a parallel port drive when computers had, a printer port in the back there, and you could actually do it that way. But yeah, long time ago.
See, and I have one of those backpack 3.5 floppy USB drives because once in a while I'd have to like resuscitate something and boot up from a floppy. Now I don't have any floppy disks, so I got the drive. I don't have any disks.
Wouldn't do you any good anyway. But yeah, that's where the Raspberry Pi comes in because you can emulate a lot of that stuff at this point anyway.
Yeah. And you'll find every Thursday night, Glenn and Tony.
Right here. It's Thursday once again.
Yeah, talking shh. IT.
IT.
Quietly.
Yep. A little bit of a quieter intro today. It's
Well,
all good.
and actually tonight's topic, one that long time coming. You know, we've been band labbers now for me 5+ years, going
Yep.
on 6, maybe
Yep.
7. It's been a while,
It's been a few.
and a lot has changed, from that little platform with 14 million when I first joined,
Yep.
that was basically free all around.
Mhm.
In the last year and a half, 2 years, we've seen uh, uh, the evolution of it go into, paid options, membership options.
Yep.
And tonight we're going to look at some of that, the benefits that might come with it. Something we've been asking, and we've been asked about,
Yeah.
by a lot of our family members, our
Mhm.
users, um, wondering, should I subscribe?
Mhm.
Is there a benefit to it? And hopefully, we're gonna see some of those answers and
Yep.
answer some of those questions tonight.
Yeah. And again, a lot of good service was available for free at the start. A lot of stuff was still available for free, even just recently. So the question is, what benefit there is from the paid services versus the free services.
Yeah, yeah, and there still is a lot of free service that they are providing, especially when it comes to the storage of your songs and projects that you put on there. So, this isn't meant to like slam or praise. It's really meant to just kind of review it from all sides. There's a lot of people who were emphatic about like how great BandLab was, who in the last couple of years with all of this have, kind of gone to the other side, and they hate some of the changes they're seeing, or some of the community changes that have gone on. But at the same time, I still see the same kind of energy and enthusiasm
Yep.
that has always been there.
Right. And to me, the whole thing was always about the music itself. So the question was, are the things that we're still getting on BandLab for free, are they still related to the music? Can you still make the music that you want to make with the tools that are available? That's the question.
Yeah. The one good thing is I am still finding great
Mhm.
musicians and friends, and the biggest benefit I've ever had from BandLab is still there.
Right.
There's still new musicians coming, and every day we find and meet new artists that are out there.
Yeah. And again, when I first started on BandLab all those years ago, one of the first things that I'd found was, searching for like a hashtag bass needed, because I was trying to put bass on things and I didn't want to step on toes, but there were plenty of projects out there where people had, something and they wanted to get a bass line put on it. And so they would just tag it with that. And so I just started adding to those and built some collabs from there. And all of a sudden, you build this whole community of people that you're working with.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Actually, once I realized there was a hashtag system and
Mhm.
and how to implement it, it really did change my account, my presence there, putting hashtag vocals needed, hashtagging the artist that I was covering.
Yep.
All of that helped to really get a lot of followers who were looking for the kind of material that I was covering.
But it didn't always have to be hashtag fire, or hashtag, greatest
Yeah,
thing ever, that hashtag system gets abused by a lot of people in a lot of ways, but it can be very useful.
yeah, that's where like I've seen over the last couple of years, the hashtagging has reached a point where they're counterproductive by hashtag trending and hashtag fire. Um, I mean, it's not to say people don't go search those hashtags,
Mhm.
but they're overwhelmed with uh, uh, irrelevant information. So
And by all
it
means, if the song title happens to be fire, hashtag it
then
fire.
it's like the songs that are untitled that
Mhm.
are actually titled, untitled.
Right. Capital U, untitled. That's where
So
you get the difference.
let's see what we've got lined up for tonight. It was a little tricky looking for good videos about BandLab. There's a lot of videos out there, of BandLabbers who show like, what they're doing and things like that. But strangely enough, BandLab doesn't put a lot of videos out there on their tutorials and their information. So you really do have to hunt around and use the right search terms in YouTube to even find useful videos that explain the kinds of things that we're going to look at tonight.
Right.
To the ITK. I'm on top of the world.
All right. The future of music here today.
Yes, and this is what you first see when you first go there. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's a musical social media platform, kind of like a hybrid of, imagine if Facebook had a DAW and you could go find other users and collab with them, or find tracks, and if you see that little fork button, fork it, try out your ideas on it, and then post it out there and share it with the other members of the platform.
Yep.
So to me, it really was inviting. I'm not a social media guy. I avoid Facebook like the plague, but for some reason, BandLab appealed to me.
Yeah, same.
To be able to find a community of artists and musicians, much more interesting than just scouring Facebook walls all day and looking at memes.
Yeah, I was never really into the short form stuff like that. But with BandLab, as you said, the collaborations was the main thing for me. Once I had followed enough people where I had a good number of people coming up on my wall, all of a sudden there was just stuff to listen to all the time and stuff to add to all the time, because the people that I had already followed, who every time they're putting stuff out, it's coming up on my feed, and I'm seeing it immediately, being able to add to it when I want to, and comment on it when I need to, and all of that. I haven't been as active on the platform as I had been in the beginning. I've been doing more stuff with the live bands lately, but at the same time, I still see the benefit in the platform for sure.
Yeah. I've also been much less active because we're doing so much, with Angified, and when they took out the streaming, it really was a buzzkill for me, because that was part of their service that really tied into like what we do here, and
it's where the show started.
Yeah, it's where we started. Our first streams were on BandLab, and then we moved over to the other platforms, just to get bigger exposure.
Yep.
But it did bum me out a little bit, and since then I've been less active. Plus, one thing I've noticed in the last couple of years is there's more people that are starting to use it as a social media platform and not as a music collaboration platform. So, I guess it's a double-edged sword. I follow a lot of people. The artists that come in, new artists that pop into our shows. I like to follow and see, where the action is. But the more people you follow, the more the noise of the wall starts to become a mixture of not just music, but here's what I had for dinner tonight. And
Sure.
And
it washes away a lot of the stuff where you'll miss the things that you wanted to catch. Somebody's a new song by somebody that you really wanted to catch a new song from just got blown away by 10 other posts, like you said, of dinner this, or latest walk around the park that. That keeping it as music, for most of the people that I follow is good, because that way it does keep the feed very focused on the music. But as you say, the platform itself, there is more variety of the types of things that you'll see on there.
Yeah. One thing I would really like to see as they keep improving their interface is better filtering on the main wall so that I I'd like to be able to like focus on the music posts, which are different than like say the picture posts or things of that nature. And it'd be nice if you could prioritize like the artists that you really like to see focused on your wall, so that way the higher priority ones, because I miss a lot of the artists that I would like to see when I'm checking out the wall because of all that excess noise.
Yeah.
Hey, Unicorn Made Frankenstein, one of the great band labbers that I've gotten to meet over there. Great to have you.
Yeah. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. So I've got, this is our main page when you first come to BandLab, but I also put up a couple of other pages here that I think are important to be familiar with. The reason why I went to BandLab in the first place was because of Cakewalk.
Yeah.
And at the time, BandLab had taken over Cakewalk and had offered it for free. Cakewalk by BandLab was my solution when I came back into music. I wanted a DAW that I was familiar with. I've been using Cakewalk since the beginning, 1988, and I had gone to Cubase for a decade between
Sure.
2000 and 2010. When I came back to music, um, I wasn't ready to go spend $600 on Cubase, but when I found out that Cakewalk was free, integrates with the keyboards that I use,
Mhm.
I was sold. To
Yeah.
find out that it was tied to a platform like this, it was just gravy. And cakewalk.com is kind of where you want to be going to keep up with this DAW if it's been something important in your music production. I know it is for me,
Yep.
and I'm still on the fence about upgrading to this new sonar that they're doing, but we're gonna look at some information on that, and hopefully it eases my troubled mind, and I would like to at least start testing it, but I'm not ready to stop using the Cakewalk by BandLab because I
Right.
have 3,000 plus projects that aren't ready to go get upgraded and be stuck somewheres where I'm not sure if I'm ready to go yet. So I've been keeping an eye on cakewalk.com. This is where they are moving the products to. There's the Big Dog Sonar. There's Cakewalk Next, which is a nice middle of the road alternative. Feels a lot like BandLab, except it runs as a local application. It has all the BandLab sounds, tools, supports VSTs. So it's a nice bridge for those who might have been just using the BandLab editor in their browser or on a mobile device. Next is kind of a step up from that without having to jump into the full blown sonar.
Right. And that was the
And
thing is for me, the collaborative aspect was important, but also the library aspect, having everything in one place was also very key. Having it accessible online, being able to access it from this studio at my house, and then being able to go to a friend's house and being able to log in and get to the same project and just, be able to work on it immediately. That was all positive selling points for me for the whole process in the first place.
yeah, yeah. And what's cool with these new products, they do integrate with your BandLab account,
Mhm.
and your projects can be brought in, worked on, pushed back, and that's the part of it that's really appealing to me.
Mhm.
When I first started using it, had to export as wave, bring every stem down, do everything, and then afterwards load up either stems or masters. And this is hopefully going to make things a lot more smoother on the workflow.
Yeah. And even every one of those conversions, not just an extra step, but also an extra place where you can introduce noise, you can introduce errors, you can all kinds of problems can start stepping or seeping into projects when you start having issues like that.
Yeah, yeah. And another page I wanted to bring up and mention, one that a lot of people don't even know exists because BandLab does not actually advertise this page on their on BandLab. Like you really have to go hunt to find blog.bandlab.com. And if you do use BandLab, this is a good site for just keeping up with some of the new things that they're doing. You see these videos that they have on here, they do actually offer some tips on how to do this and how to do that. Sometimes they mention, features that are coming out, things that are actually important that you don't see when you're on the platform.
Right.
And in the old days, when they used to have the contests, this is where they would like announce, give the information, and announce the winners. Now that they don't have those anymore, I feel like a lot of the new users don't ever even find this page, and they should know it exists.
Yeah. And again, it depends what they're looking for on the platform. Like in some cases, they might only be looking at the community. They might only be looking at the DAW. Different people are there for different reasons, as we said, but everybody being aware that it's there should introduce them to the other areas as well.
Yeah. Yes. See, Uni agrees with me on ways to filter and search are still clunky. They could be improved on. And, just like the hashtag system, filtering and things kind of make or break a platform. So I hope that they consider that as important when it comes to their interface as the interface itself.
Yeah.
So, and the last tab that I wanted to show here, because we're going to be talking about this at the end, the terms of use. Everybody should get familiar with this page, and we've got a great video at the end that's going to go through this and really highlight some of the things that all artists who use BandLab should be familiar with, should be aware of. What you're doing with your music and your content, you need to be aware of these things. And just like the community guidelines is another thing that you have to get more familiar with because you could end up with a message saying your account's been disabled because of like infringing on community guidelines, which are seem to be constantly changing at the moment. And there's a lot of people who are just being surprised one day when their account's disabled for a couple of days or a week. We had to delay the WAG till next week because one of our judges and several of our contestants, their accounts were disabled for spam that they were not doing. And this is something that like hopefully they get more on the ball with and people get more familiar with so that way they can hopefully avoid some of these things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So for the videos that we do have tonight, there's a little bit of promotion. To start off, we're going to look at BandLab's main video on why you might want to consider membership. When they first came out with it, this was the initial video that helped to like describe the benefits and get users to understand that hey, with these paid benefits, there are additional features. And it wasn't just like taking the features they already had and then locking them behind a paid account. For the most part, the free features that they've had have continued to be free. They've added new features. So
added functionality. Yeah.
So we're going to look at like what some of these additional features are. And that's coming directly from the horse's mouth here. That's from BandLab's YouTube page. And then I wanted to include a user's um, uh, review and perspective on a paid membership and the benefits they found from it, what they used and felt was useful for a paid membership.
Nice.
And then to get into the what's going on with Cakewalk, because last month, well, about a month and a half ago, they started hinting that there was going to be a free tier version of Cakewalk Sonar, which I'm glad that they considered and are doing that. Uh, it was kind of a tough sell to say, hey, Cakewalk's going from free to paid only. I'm glad that they're at least finding a middle compromise there, and you can actually get Sonar for free. It has some limitations, and that's what this video is gonna help to do, is explain uh, to some extent some of that and why the changes. It's coming from Creative Sauce. Mike,
Yep.
great to have you back in action, and great to have a topic where he is. The one who really got me back into Cakewalk. When I
Yeah.
jumped back into it, it was this channel that completely helped me to understand everything I needed to relearn
Mhm.
and to go forward with Cakewalk.
And in such an informative and approachable way as well.
Yeah, yeah. And this second Cakewalk video, this one goes a little further. It comes from Audio Tech TV, another channel that has really become like one of my go-to favorites for the reviews and the news. He's the one who kind of let me know that, like, hey, Cakewalk's gonna have a free tier. And when Cakewalk was actually moving to Sonar and all of that, this is where I got that news from. So, Audio Tech TV is going to talk about the limitations of the free Cakewalk Sonar and Next, because I wasn't even aware that Next had a free tier now too. And I'm glad that BandLab is doing that to help ease people into the products. And I think it's important to know where the limitations are. So I'm really glad I found this one.
Yeah.
And then we're going to
Miss
be
Crystal.
finishing off with Miss Crystal. The every artist and musician should know her by now. The legal music advice that you get from her channels. And it turns out she's got two of them.
Yep.
We were already following her on Top Music Attorney, but
Mhm.
she also has another mothership on YouTube with Delgado Entertainment Law. That's her law firm. And there's just as much, good information and useful information on that channel. So, like, I got it from this channel so that way we can kind of show both her channels tonight in
Nice.
one fell swoop.
Mhm.
And what's awesome about this video is that she does go through that terms of service
Right.
and highlights all the important things that you can't ignore as an artist when you agree and sign up. uh, you really need to know what you're signing up for. She gives a fair assessment of it, totally looks at it both mainly as a lawyer. She gets through the legalese, but she also does it fairly. She's a musician herself. She knows what it means to sign away your musical rights,
Right.
and she really digs into those terms of service to find the legalese that's hiding in there.
Yep. Find those nuggets that you need to be aware of. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Ah, made sure I came in behind you.
See, sneaky, sneaky. But you're still over there.
But I am
Happy to.
ready to talk some
Shh, shh.
IT.
Yep. On Thursday. Got to do it.
Yeah, and tonight we got a grab bag. Little bit of a couple of things.
Mhm.
We're going to be starting with songwriting for a
Mm-hmm.
couple of videos. Get these waggers, some tips on putting together their songs. And then we're going to go into gear whores
Nice
because I
equipment.
found, well, our wall and the channels that we have, I
Mm-hmm.
found some cool new gadgets. 2025 has been an awesome year for cool new instruments that totally look different.
Nice. Always good to
And
see.
and to finish, we're gonna go into some mix tricks.
Mm-hmm.
I got a mixing video that's got some awesome advice on what you're listening to fix.
Yep, exactly. Because there's always something to fix.
Yeah. Yeah, and after the last week, we're still kind of recovering here after Ozzy. That was uh, this last week between the wrestling fans and the metal fans.
Yeah,
It was a tough week,
for sure. Lots of loss.
but you see a lot of celebration of his music career and the influence he had. I'm seeing it everywhere right now.
Yeah, for sure. And we were doing some, with some of the cover bands I work with, we've been doing some Ozzy songs for a long time, but like you're going to see a lot more of that, obviously, with, if you go to open jams and all that, everyone's going to be playing an Ozzy song here and there.
Yeah, I've heard Paranoid now about like 100 times
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
last
for sure.
week.
It doesn't surprise me.
Oh, and we got the WAG rolling last
Mm-hmm.
week.
Yep.
We actually picked out the teams and the genres.
Mm-hmm.
So they're cooking this week.
Nice.
And this weekend, we're going to start to hear some of what's been going on over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can't wait to see what they've been cooking.
So let's see what we're going to be looking at tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the IT cave. And
There it is.
and I did start with videos that I feel could help some of them right now as they're getting used to their collaborators
Mm-hmm.
and trying to put together a song in 7 days. That's a challenge.
Oh, for sure.
So I wanted to start with a little songwriting talk
Mm-hmm.
and something a little more open-ended on the songwriting advice, not necessarily like technical stuff and like you got to do the ABABBA format or anything
Right.
like that. More of general good approach
Mm-hmm.
to writing a good song.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And sometimes,
So
like you said, sometimes it is structure, but sometimes it is arrangement. Sometimes it's thinning things out and adding instruments or voices, all different things.
yeah, this one, the reason why I picked this one is because in the past I've mentioned like the campfire
Mm-hmm. Yep.
approach to some of the great songs out there,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to take that song and just go with an acoustic around the fire and sing
Right.
it is kind of a good litmus test
Mm-hmm.
of a good song.
Yep.
And when I saw this, I was like, oh, finally,
Mm-hmm.
someone's talking about like my litmus test and how to write songs. A Freshy channel with a title that grabbed me right away.
Yeah. And that's one that's, a subject that has interested me also. Like to work on singing and playing at the same time. Certain songs make that easier and just, lend themselves, as you said, to being played and sung at the same time.
And when you think like that campfire approach,
Mm-hmm.
it you get the people around the fire singing along with you, and that's when you know you've got a great song because everybody knows the words and everybody's happy to sing it together.
Try some Bye Bye Miss American Pie.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty tough one for the guitar.
But getting everyone singing, though, was the part.
Yeah, well, that's a piece of cake for me.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So we're going to start with that to see the campfire test.
Mm-hmm.
And this is such an awesome conversation. Songtown. So
Mm-hmm.
again, we've been to this channel in the past. That's why it popped up, and
Mm-hmm.
hit me right away. Like, this is definitely the other songwriting video I'd like to discuss tonight, because um, the 6 questions that they go through to determine whether you really have a song or not.
Mhm.
I do that whenever there's an artist who comes in and is like, "Hey, I've got a song."
Sure.
And I go through a lot of these questions to determine, well, do you really have a song?
Yep, because you certainly have nuggets of a song. You certainly have song ideas. There's certainly, or I have a progression I like. I have a melody I like. There's certain ingredients, but yes, there are certain questions people should ask to narrow down whether this is a song or whether this is just a song fragment.
Yeah, well, this analyzes the song and the intentions behind
Hmm.
the artist with the song in a really logical way.
Nice.
So then we're going to shift into our gear stuff, because this one, as I was going through like our suggested videos, and they throw these little gear ones in everywhere's on our
Hmm.
wall, and I saw it, like the thumbnail, and I'm like, what? This is something for the drums, because it looks like just a lighting effect that, like, hey, my drums have lights.
Hmm.
But it is so much more. And when you can incorporate some good MIDI triggers into your acoustic set,
Sure.
I was like, wow, this was really a unique drum edition that I can see drummers all over the place being like, I gotta have one of those.
Yeah, nice.
It's called the Drum Beam.
Hmm.
And it's going to be coming from Art of Drumming, another channel that, like, we've had a couple of drum nights,
Hmm.
and I'm glad that we're getting suggestions from this channel now.
Exactly. And as you
That
said,
re
sometimes it'll be gear stuff, sometimes it'll be technique stuff. There'll be different types of things that come up in the feed, but always good
you know,
stuff.
when it when I see gear like that, that makes me want to buy something, and I'm not even a drummer. I'm
Hmm.
like, somebody built something right there.
Yep, exactly.
And the other one that I was seeing pop up, a lot of different channels mentioning it. It's kind of like that little pocket gadget we looked at a couple weeks back, where you can almost tell this thing's going to be popular just by the amount of, like, videos that start popping up on our wall, suggesting, like, try this and you'll be blown away.
Hmm.
Uh, this is the Cord Cat, and it has, there's some approach to it that might be more familiar for those who tend to build their beats and their loops in a range,
Hmm.
with the 16 button kind of approach.
Right.
But it brings some interesting, unique approaches to chord arrangement, rhythm arrangement, and all that, and seems to be really easy to pick up.
It almost looks like a
Musicians,
lighting controller, like bump buttons,
eh,
like to hit different colors and all that. Yeah.
yeah, and I bet you it's totally programmable so that you could control lights with it, because
Yeah.
it is well designed.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, that one's going to be coming from Alpha Theta Pioneer DJ USA. I think they're the ones behind it,
Hmm.
coming straight from the horse's mouth.
Very cool.
And this one I thought was a great compliment to this interesting gear and these new toys that we're seeing.
Hmm.
Um, Ben Jordan talks about audio gear that tends to not be discussed and thought about, but are kind of essential things in the studio. And for me, I was thinking, like, back to the 90s and the analog stuff, the patch bays and
Yep.
things that we took for granted. You needed them, but you never really, like, talked about the importance of a good patch bay.
Sure.
He takes it to the modern level with stuff that I don't necessarily have in my studio, but I want. What he's
Hmm.
got there
Hmm.
is a MIDI patch bay like nothing I've ever seen. And I wish I had one of these back in the 90s when I had racks and racks of synths.
Sure.
It would have solved so many things.
Hmm. It's kind of like when we were back in the back in the server rooms, you would have something where you can use a KVM switch where you can have one keyboard and monitor and mouse and be able to control everything in the rack just by hitting a couple buttons and go boom that server, boom that server, like work your way right
Yeah.
down.
Well, with this, not only can you do all the MIDI routing that you've
Mhm.
ever imagined, but it's got built-in filtering and USB routing and just like an all-in-one essential. Like now that I know it exists,
Mhm.
I need to get it.
Nice. And is that like modular in terms of the sizes, or is it like you get the size that you need
Uh,
for however many things?
they do have a couple of different ones, but the one he's gonna show is
The
like,
monster.
yeah.
Nice.
And we've been to the Dr. Bob, the musical surgery in the past on some of our mixing nights, and I love his channel. I
Mhm.
love his approach to describing mixing because to me sometimes it does feel like surgery as
Mhm.
well.
Yep.
And um, the way he describes his techniques and things, you start to realize it is like doctoring when
Mhm.
you're in this phase of your song making.
Right.
And why this one caught me is there are these times where you're trying to mix something that you don't necessarily hear, but you know it's there,
Right.
and recognizing these situations and these things. He does a great job of explaining that and how you can recognize when you're in that kind of situation.
Right. And there's as much art as there is science, and that's where you got to draw that line when it comes to mixing, when it comes to music, when it comes to these things in general, all these creative endeavors. There's the science aspect, and then there's the art aspect, and it's how you ride that line.
Yeah, and nowadays we mix as much visually as
Mhm.
we do with our ears.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you don't hear it, but you
Mhm.
see it, and it's like, oh no, that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, and that's where some people just they've blown out certain ranges of their hearing where they don't necessarily hear that high pitched squeal that somebody else might hear, and it could also
Well,
be age where younger
Andrew
people can hear things.
Andrew Hong, yeah,
Mhm.
Andrew Hong has that situation where
Mhm.
like his hearing has gotten all tweaked out at times, and he still doesn't know exactly what the root cause of it is. He just knows like he's not hearing things,
Mhm.
certain tones and frequencies that he's supposed to.
Right. And as you said, mixing visually, like you can see the real time analysis on a channel. Like if there's a vocal coming in, for example, I can see where the energy in the signal is. Like if it's at a low voice, is it a high voice? I can see where the peak is. I can see where most of it is. And you can mix some or EQ some of that, visually, just knowing how much energy is coming in, even if you can't hear in that range. So there are certain things you can do that way. But is it muddy or is it clear? That might be something that you won't be able to tell just by looking at it or just by EQing.
Yeah, yeah, and he does get into like things like the mud and where it can kick in and how you can avoid it.
Mhm. And even a room hum, things like that, or high pitched squeals. There's all kinds of different things that can happen when you're trying to, look at certain recordings and different ways to deal with them for sure. There's different ways that are more effective. You can use compressors, you can use gates. There's all kinds of things, but each has an
Yeah,
appropriate use.
and I almost threw one more video in.
Mhm.
It was gonna run a little too long, but
Mhm.
I had one that had all the different studio effects that the
Mhm.
general, and that one got into exactly what you're saying there.
Yep.
Like this effect is for this, and this
Yep.
effect is for that.
Yeah, and some of them can be used for multiple things, but they're better used in certain situations. Like there's a best case use for where to use the EQ versus where to use a gate, for example.
Yeah, and the real premise of it was the essential ones that the
Mhm.
studio needs, the compressors, the
Yeah,
EQs, the
yeah.
gates, and the limiters,
Mhm.
all things that like you don't necessarily use as much or all the time,
Mhm.
but every one of those tends to be part of a process.
They all have a place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yes,
Ba-da-bum,
indeed.
bum, bum, ba-da.
Once again on a Thursday.
Yeah, I got to get that shh motion that Ange got.
Shh. Got to be ready for it. Yep.
Yeah, she got it down.
She does. She does. Well practiced. So how's everything going today?
Good. We're about to cover something that for like the last couple of weeks I have seen creep back in. Something that I get asked about like constantly all the time,
Mhm.
but in the last couple of weeks it has almost been a constant every night because with all these waggers, a lot of them have been upgrading their gear, you know,
Right.
getting ready for the wag. They're upgrading their interfaces.
Hmm.
They're getting plugged in. They're wanting to jam on the Zoom and
Yep.
running into the typical problems that you would run into when
Hmm.
you first plug in a new audio interface and you're trying to get that ASO music over
Hmm.
to Zoom. It it it's a little bit of a challenge
Yeah.
getting a new interface set up.
Hmm. Definitely. And that's where, seeing some of the different interfaces, seeing how to troubleshoot, seeing the process is important. So that's why we're going to look at some of that.
Yeah, and in some cases, understanding the differences between standard audio when
Hmm.
it comes to like Windows versus audio driven audio, where that's where you start to get into things like Wasapi
Hmm.
and ASO, and we're going to be talking about some of these driver standards for audio tonight,
Right.
so that we can understand a little more about why the audio doesn't always port over to
Hmm.
Zoom smoothly.
And some of the things you can do about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there are things you can do about it.
Hmm.
That's sometimes the toughest thing to explain
Hmm.
because I'll get this user who does try some things and can't get it to work and eventually throws their arms up and says it doesn't work. It's
Hmm.
impossible.
Right.
And it's not that it's impossible, it's that it sometimes gets complicated to get it to work. When you are dealing with professional audio equipment and Windows, you will start to deal with different audio settings than you normally would.
Hmm. As a test one of these days, a slightly tangent topic here. We should ask one of the AIs about, like going into a troubleshooting scenario like that, like start presenting an AI with a troubleshooting scenario and see what kinds of steps it suggests.
I'm actually curious because that kind of leads into like the first couple. Let's go to the IT cave. I'll show you.
Nice.
Ooh, flip me around.
There you
There
go.
we go. And the the first couple really are more troubleshooting centric. The very first one is going to be coming from Audio University, channel we have gotten
Hmm.
very familiar with when we need to explain certain things.
Hmm. Yep.
He's a good go-to guy, great explanation, straightforward.
Hmm.
And to start, we're just going to take a quick look at audio interface setup for beginners. Like, and I like his because he's using a Focusrite and
Hmm.
a very common one,
Right.
something that a lot of these guys that have been upgrading are also using.
Sure.
So it's very relevant to their interfaces and what they're doing.
Hmm.
And he just covers like the basic things that you need to do to get the interface up and running.
Okay. Very
And
cool.
then we're going to have some freshy channels because this is kind of a new topic for us. So some of these channels are new. And the Tech Baka.
Hmm.
Uh,
Right.
with this one, it, it gives four possible things that could help when you first plug that audio interface in, and a lot of times you might get a little bit of crackling, popping, weird noises that you don't want to have in your music, and in some cases you just don't want to have at all. It's annoying.
Right.
And this one has four suggestions that are really good to know, especially with Windows, whether it's Windows 10 or 11. There's slight differences with the sound settings in Windows 11, but for the most part, everything they talk about here is relevant to both.
Nice.
And I brought this one in because sound speeds, he takes a different approach to troubleshooting this kind of problem, one that actually I would do. Like, when you're troubleshooting and you, the best way to troubleshoot is to isolate. Isolate
Yep.
as much as you can to narrow in on where potential problems are happening.
Isolate and simplify. Yep.
Yes, and I liked his suggestion, so I wanted it included as a complement to those four suggestions, because this would probably be the approach I would take if I was dealing with that situation where, in his case, he's moving from one machine to another. He's
Right.
taking all his audio hardware and porting it over to the new machine. So he already knows like the hardware works, and he's already had it set up in one.
Right.
And when he moves it to the new one, runs into this problem and takes a very creative approach to isolating where the problem is.
Nice.
And then after we kind of sort out the troubleshooting and how to deal with those clicks and pops and get everything smoothed out, uh, we need to talk about ASO. That is the one where, when I've got these new musicians who are just getting audio gear for the first time and getting it set up in their DAWs, on the Windows side, if you don't understand what ASO is, and you're trying to make music with your computer, you're missing a key ingredient in setting up your audio.
Understanding the importance, for sure. The understanding of, the difference between the modes and when you need to use each, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and that one's going to be coming from Zane over at Audio Tech TV, another one that become a go-to for me when I need to explain these complicated things in the
Yeah.
easiest way.
Absolutely.
And then once we do understand ASO, the big problem that we've been tackling the last couple of weeks with all these WAG musicians who want to get their instruments into the Zoom from their DAWs, which are in ASO mode, routing ASO to get it to work in something else. Because the one thing you're going to learn with ASO is it's exclusive. When your DAW is in ASO mode, that sound card can't be shared with other programs. So in order to get that audio out of that DAW into other programs, we need to learn about some of these options. And I'm familiar with all of these. I've tried actually a couple of them in other variations, but here they're going to talk about ASO for all, one of the most common ones, but also one of the biggest culprits of problems, especially with setup. ASO ProLink, that's a new one for me. So I'm curious to see how that and ASO for all compare with each other. And the last one is BB Audio Matrix.
Right.
And the VB cables, we are familiar with that. We
Right.
actually covered that on another night. Um, uh, Looks like they now have this new program tied to the VB cables called Audio Matrix. So haven't gotten to check that out yet. So that's a nice way to see where VB cables is going, because that's one of the better choices.
For sure.
Yeah, and Eric Taylor is going to be giving us that one freshy.
Nice.
And to just kind of piggyback off of those choices. One that you turned me on to, and I'm glad you did, because um, it's actually useful even if you don't need to do fancy routing. Just for like managing, your situation and some of the others where like you've got audio coming from a game, you've got Zoom going, you want to be able to actually mix your different audio signals or route them to different headphones or speakers.
Yep.
And trumpet
Ear
is
trumpet. Yep.
ear trumpet is one
Hmm.
of these hidden gems on the Windows side.
Yeah.
Microsoft actually makes it,
Mhm.
but yet they don't include it out of the box with Windows, and they really should, because their mixer is extremely limited.
Yeah.
This
And ear trumpet
it
is very, very straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the mixer that they should have had in Windows all along,
Yeah. Agreed.
and
And I was
that's what
saying
we.
before, even that it seems like Windows has gotten better over time with how it deals with the audio routing, but still, it's still clunky and it's still a source of issues.
And ironically, with Windows 11, it's actually getting more confusing because there's a Windows API now in Windows 11 that deals with the sound differently than it did with 10. So when it comes to grabbing audio from applications and controlling them, 11 does it a little differently than 10.
Right.
That one's going to be coming from Tech Tutor Plus,
Nice.
and um, the last one is kind of just a nice feature after we've learned all of this. Um, White Sea Studios. I've actually been to this channel with my regular YouTube and visit him for a couple of different videos, but it's his debut on Talkin Shhh IT.
Nice.
And I think this is a nice complement to all of it. Uh, it, he's going to talk about the DAW and the idea that like DAWs can sound different,
Right.
even if you're doing the same thing
Hmm.
using the same tracks. And it kind of started with a discussion that he was watching where the guy was like, Pro Tools is leaps and bounds better than Logic and sounds so much better.
Right.
And it got him thinking, like it would me, like, what do you
Does it?
mean? Pro Tools sounds better than Logic. If I'm playing the same things on
Yep.
both, they should not sound any different.
Right.
What makes a DAW sound different is the user, and he goes in it with the same curiosity I have.
Hmm.
Like, is there really a difference? And
Hmm.
he's going to test it to see if different DAWs actually do sound different with apples and apples.
And for me, that's the question: is if it's apples and apples, but if you do the difference of you're using each DAW's built-in channel strip, for example. So the reverb you're using and different aspects of the sound, the EQ. You might not be using the exact same VST in each DAW, but you're using the built-in what they have and seeing how the differences are there, or the built-in mastering, things like that. Like using some aspects of the DAW to see how they affect the overall output sound.
Yeah, what I'm curious is at its simplest in his test,
Mhm.
if we're talking stems and
Yep.
no effects being done on either side of the DAWs, these are
Right.
just raw stems, there should be no difference there. Once you start implementing mixing where you're utilizing different plugins because different DAWs might have different EQs and approaches,
Sure.
there's a potential for some differences. But if you were to use the same plugins, same settings on both,
Right.
it, is there and should there be a difference?
Right. And that's, again, the question to me also comes down to, are both DAWs set to the exact same output settings? Because there's, differing configurations of what you're going to get in an output file from somewhere.
Yeah. And we are like scientists. We like control subjects and
Yes.
and things to actually be apples and apples.
That's right.
No offense, Windows.
And starting simple, starting at the simplest test, and then building the test from there, and saying, okay, like we saw that this is the same, so now let's build up from there to one level and see, what's next.
Yeah, yeah. So he's going to be doing that kind of testing, which I feel is a nice complement to the troubleshooting
Mhm.
tests that we're going to talk about in the beginning here.
Very good.
IT, IT, IT.
Every Thursday night, just like that.
Oh, and it's going to be highly educational tonight.
Yes, I think we're gonna synthesize some good stuff tonight.
Yes, I'm surprised we've never covered this before because it's
Mhm.
one of my favorite topics next to piano night.
That's right. And we're gonna get to sheet music night one day too.
Yeah, and when it comes to synthesizers, there's a couple of different kinds. So I really did want to cover this. I've been building up towards it, throughout the year,
Mhm.
and I love that I didn't have to really hunt for what I
Yeah.
was looking for tonight. This is one of those topics where you go down the YouTube, and we now have some freshy channels that are
Mhm.
synth driven, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to look at a little bit of gear. We're going to
Mhm.
learn about what a synthesizer really is, the history of it. And I feel this is one of the most important modern instruments.
Mhm.
You know,
One of the most
it-
versatile for sure.
yeah, because like you look at the history of instruments, and most of them, the sound they make and what they do, it's based on physical design and, you know, how the instrument is built. The synthesizer is an interesting one because it's not a physical thing per se, although there is some physical aspects to it.
Mhm.
The way that it actually constructs sound, it does have some physical characteristics, but
Mhm.
it's capable of sounding like practically anything.
And that's the thing is there's so much, art and science involved, and you don't have to know all the science to make the art, but at the same time, if you appreciate both, it really does kind of stand out. Because even when we talked about those early keyboards that we had, like the CZ1, something where you can really edit the waveforms and you can start with a square or a sawtooth or whatever and really build an entire sound out starting from there and make it sound like anything from a helicopter sound to a trumpet to whatever. Like you can get the kind of sound you're looking for just by tweaking a little this way and a little that way with all the different parameters.
Yeah, yeah. What I like about it is it actually can involve programming.
Mhm.
You can sculpt and shape your sound in a way that like a programmer would with an
Mhm.
instrument.
Yep. And it makes it very predictable output. Like when I do things just like this, these are the results that I get, and you can redo it very easily, time and time again.
Yeah, and I do feel like it changed the landscape of music when it came into the picture. We really started to see music evolve. You couldn't have Pink Floyd
Yeah.
without the synthesizer.
Yeah. And I mean, even in the early days, the prepared piano, I mean, they had all kinds of things that, made them, whether it was experimental or cutting edge or whatever you want to call it, but something, let's say outside the box, right? I mean, they definitely had some stuff going on there where synthesizers were definitely key.
Yeah, and what I found interesting as I was hunting for this, its history actually goes further back than I thought. Like we're gonna see in our we'll go to the IT cave and we'll see what we're talking about here.
There it is.
And what we're gonna start with is the history of synthesizers because I really was curious as to where did it begin. And Andy Whitmore
Mhm.
did a fantastic job. Again, I didn't have shortages of videos that I wanted to go to for this,
Mhm.
but this one has a nice complete history to it, and it's not. an hour long. So
Yeah.
um, he's going to cover the complete history of synthesizers, how synths change music forever. Completely
Mhm.
agree there.
Nice.
And then we're going to take a quick look at the differences between a synthesizer and a sampler. And,
Mhm.
I think a lot of people um, sometimes associate the two together,
Mhm.
but there are differences. There is a form of synthesis that incorporates sampling along with waveform editing to do things, but synthesis and sampling are two different beasts.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
I mean, one is kind of more copycat and one is kind of more from the ground up reproduction, right?
yeah, yeah, and Studio Pros Freshy channel,
Mhm.
awesome. Again, I had a couple of different videos that I could have chose here.
Oh yeah.
This one did the best job of explaining those differences.
Mhm. Nice.
And then once we know those differences, we've got to learn the different types of synthesis that are available.
Mhm.
And for the most part, there's four that are important to understand. Sounds good. Love the name of the channel. Uh,
Nice.
does a good job of explaining this.
Mhm. I like it.
Yeah, every type of synthesizer explained. There's a few that are could be mentioned, but the the newer types of synthesis still rely on these base types of synthesis.
Sure. Like subcategories almost.
Yep, and then we're gonna have a twofer here with Dr. Mix.
Mhm. Nice.
Love that channel. We've been there for some of our mixing
Mhm.
videos and discussions,
Yep.
and he does an awesome job of covering the 7 greatest moments in synthesizer history,
Nice.
and I had to get this one in here because one of them, number 6, is to me the reason why I got into synthesizer.
Mhm.
The last couple of weeks we'd been looking at some different videos, and they'd mentioned Wendy Carlos,
Mhm.
and she created an album called Switched on Bach using the Moog synthesizer,
Sure.
which when I was a kid, when I heard Bach on synthesizer, I was like, I want to
Mhm.
do this.
Oh yeah.
And that's just one of 7 critical moments where synthesizers really changed the music world.
Mhm. Nice.
And then also from Dr. Mix, he's the synthesizer guru, and
Mhm.
he's going to show us the top 7 synthesizers that change music forever. And I had to include this one along with his other one because
Yep.
he mentions a couple of them that I had
Mhm.
and a couple of them that I wanted.
Yep. I was gonna ask you how many were in each of those categories.
Well, there's 2 that I had, and
Mhm.
I would
Nice.
have taken any one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then to finish things off tonight, what better way than Sanjay C,
Mhm.
awesome reviewer on YouTube. We brought his videos in on a couple of nights to show different gear because his reviews are fantastic,
Mhm.
and he goes to the Synth Expo in Brooklyn this
Nice.
year to show some of the toys, the new toys that he found at the expo.
Mhm.
And it's a perfect way if you can't go to that expo yourself, like me.
Mhm.
His eyes and ears on this gear is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And there's some really cool stuff that he looks at.
And knowing what questions to ask and what stuff to point out, that's also important for sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You couldn't ask for a better person to go through a synth expo like this, and you'll see the companies that he goes and checks out. These are some of the biggest names in synthesizers going back decades.
Nice. A nice solid group of stuff to go through today. Good
Yeah.
channels.
Yeah, I get to go to the Synth Expo and I don't have to get on a plane.
That's a bonus. I mean, for me, it's not that far to Brooklyn, but still. Bam. Just like that.
We're gonna have fun tonight. We got a full list of some interesting stuff that I know is right up your alley.
Oh yeah, I love some video games. That's for sure.
And what's going to be interesting about this, because we did have a game night earlier in the year, but
Mhm.
it really was just more on like the PC side of gaming. Um, Tonight we're going to be focusing more on consoles,
Nice. Very
but
nice. Mhm.
specifically a new console that feels like a gaming PC,
Mhm.
which is why I kind of had to cover this because the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks, there's been a lot of noise out there about Valve
Mhm.
and Steam and how they are going to kind of like course correct where consoles are right now.
Mhm. The Steam machine.
Yeah, yeah. I've been wondering, I've been asking for like the last year, year and a half, where consoles are going, between the current Xbox and the PlayStation 5 has, been a big success, really settled in. But what next? Like, seeing like where they're at and wondering where can they go with the next generation of consoles that they plan on coming out with. The PS6 sounds interesting, and we're going to take a little look at that. But Xbox was the one that I was starting to wonder, where do they go from where they were at? And I think Valve might have kind of made Microsoft like rethink and lit a fire under their ass. At this point, Microsoft's gonna have to rethink their console strategy a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's the thing is I was all in on the consoles for many years. I mean, from PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. I did only have one Xbox over the years, and that was the 360. So that's when I jumped in on that side. But at that point, I had the Xbox and the PlayStation, and I was doing a lot of both games as well as PC games. At this point, I haven't used the consoles in a while, and I've just been doing everything on the computer. But also, I have we talked recently about doing a Raspberry Pi for like an arcade emulation machine, and I've done that as well. So I have a small Raspberry Pi that has all the old consoles and things on it. So if I have that retro, um, you know want to go look at some retro games or whatever, I can just go hit that up for elevator action, for example. Like go hit that
Yeah,
up
yeah.
on
Now you
the
got
Raspberry
the
Pi.
space to store it.
I do because I just got myself a new drive, so I just got upgraded my storage. I only had 1 terabyte in the machine when I got it because I knew I was going to upgrade storage anyway. But it's a fast drive that was in there, so left it there and just went and got myself another 24 terabytes and dropped it in. So that'll be nice.
Yeah,
Be able to put
for
some.
what'd you say, about $250? That's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
sweet spot for
yeah.
us. You went from a tiny house
Mhm.
to a massive mansion.
Yeah, I was telling him I took. I had the games that I had on the machine because I'd put probably 500 gigs worth of games. About half the drive was filled with games that I had been just testing out or ones that I wanted to try on the new hardware because it's got an RTX card, so it's got it's got the graphics capabilities to do what I need to. But the idea was to only put some games on there. Most of them I just tried out, and some of them I just installed but never even looked at. But taking that 500 gigs off of there, that's half of that drive is now 2% on my other drive. So it's like, okay, good. Now I've got
Well,
lots
and
of space.
you're finally gonna really get to test that RTX card now.
Exactly. So now I can, like you were saying, I can just install, I can just go through my Steam library, go through my Epic Games library, and just like install everything that I want to. I already went through and favorited a bunch of things from one, like, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that looks good. I remember hearing about that one, all that kind of stuff. One of the ones I also got recently was Crisis 3 is one that I played way back when as a testing the physics and testing the graphics hardware at the time, because that was one that was definitely cutting edge for the time when it came out. they remastered it now to take advantage of RTX cards, and I got to see what that looks like. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
grabbed I grabbed that.
There's been a couple of them over the last 6, 7 months that really are starting to utilize some of the new features with the RTX.
Yeah. And I see that when even just doing my NVIDIA updates, it tells you, hey, new features added for, and they specifically break out the games that individually and what things they modified or changed for it.
Yeah, I swear my NVIDIA updates at least once a week, if not even more frequent.
Yeah, and you can set it to do it automatically. You can set it to do it only when you ask it to. I mean, that's usually I do it. I always do those kinds of things when I ask it to because I don't want things to change in an unpredictable way between if I'm doing raids or if I'm doing whatever. If I have specific video game things I want to do, I want to make sure that the machine is in the state that I left it in. Last time I looked at it. So I'll go do the updates when the time comes. Yeah,
the update frequency it depends whether you're using the studio updates or the gaming updates. Because this one, I do the gaming updates, and that one, my music machine, I do the studio updates. Don't see as much on the studio as you do the gaming one. Anytime a new game comes out, they pretty much throw a new update up.
Yeah. And even just a new game is in testing, like that, somebody from the testing had, reported something. So they already fixed something that, could potentially be a problem before it even becomes a problem. I like that they do updates that often for that reason.
Yeah, although every once in a while the update is to fix the things that they last update
Yeah,
messed up.
they've gotten pretty good at doing updates so often and having it all work out just fine. Like not a lot of total fail updates from NVIDIA that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah,
much improved.
Good stuff.
Let's take a look and see what we got in the lineup.
Yeah. One thing I do like about console versus PC is that the console, it does give you that whole stock car racing kind of a thing where you know what hardware someone has. Like you don't have to guess, okay, what processor do you have? What memory do you have? Is everything compatible? Like, you don't have to worry about all the different variations of things that people could have because they have the PlayStation, which is this, or they have, the Xbox, which is that. There's a very set, hardware profile that they know about at that point. That's one of the things that's a big variable for PC gaming.
I fixed the title. Nice. The Shhh I.T cave needs to be named properly.
Because now we're there. You also have to turn around. Where is it over there?
Oh, yeah. Flip me.
There you go. Much better.
So it wasn't hard to actually find what I was looking for tonight. The trickier thing was actually like deciding which coverage for the things we're going to look at, because there are so many great channels when it comes to the gaming channels. And surprisingly, we don't have a lot of them in our YouTube yet, but I kind of borrowed a few of them from my YouTube to get over to here. So we got some freshy channels for sure tonight. Nice. Which means we'll be seeing more of this gaming news in our feed now.
All right.
But the important one, the reason why I went with this tonight was the last couple of weeks with Steam's announcements of some of the new equipment that they're rolling out. It's got the console market all in a tizzy. Everybody's talking about this Steam machine that they're rolling out. They still haven't announced exactly where the price point is going to be. So you've got like tons of channels all speculating and kind of telling Valve like, make this like $4.99, $5.99, and I'm getting one. Make it $9.99, and a lot of them are like,
nope.
You're gonna have a tough time competing with a cheaper PlayStation 6, which I hope Valve is listening there. Obviously, given the specs that I've heard on what's gonna be in the machine, they do have to price it reasonably to at least make somewhat of a profit. I don't think that they're going to do like, Microsoft and Sony did in the past and take a loss to get the consoles out there. That would be a little unrealistic. But if they can keep it in the $700 range or lower, the fact that so many gaming channels are all excited about it and want to get their hands on it, that price point is going to be the thing that will bring mass adoption for them.
Yeah. And in a lot of cases, again, it is a game device. So, it is for the games. Like if you're a person who does PC stuff outside of the games, you might look at it and say, do I want to spend $1,000 on a, game specific thing and also have a PC for things that I have to do, or just do it all on a PC? That's kind of, so the market that they're going for is the person who just wants that, dedicated console.
Yeah, and considering what Steam brings to the console table, part of that market, I think they're trying to give some of those people who do want to have a Windows machine but don't necessarily want a Windows machine.
Right.
They want it for gaming. They just don't want to deal with the complexities of a simple Windows machine. You can run Windows on this thing, and I think that's going to be a big deal for some of the gamers. And the ones who like you tend to play PC games where you need a keyboard, the use of a mouse for certain games, that's a big deal. Whereas the console games tend to cater, to a different type of gamer.
Yeah,
I
I
think
always change keybinds in almost any game I do, just because I'll see how it's set up. But I mean, I have pretty big hands, so like the way things are set up a lot of times is too crunched. So like I'll spread things out, or change keybinds to just make it so that it makes sense for me.
yeah. Hopefully, if Valve gets this right, they'll offer the best of both worlds. The gamers who really want those PC style games, be able to use PC style controls, it'll be available to them. And the ones who want that console convenience, plug and play, ready to go, if they can balance that properly, it does open up a real competitor between the Xbox, PlayStation consoles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't even know what Nintendo is going to be like thinking at this point, but it's going to be interesting. 2026, when it comes to gaming, it is going to be changing a lot more than it has the last couple of years.
Yeah. And I mean, we're almost at the point where you could just go, ask it an AI chatbot, hey, write me a game about this or that, and make your own custom game just on the fly. So, I mean, we're not far from that. But, at that point, again, that's not something that's studio and, massively online and all that kind of things. There's a lot of things that are, missing from that experience if you do it that way.
Well, the first thing we're going to look at is this announcement from Valve that they put out, last week, and it's going to show 3 different products that they're working on to get into this market. One of the focus is the controller itself, the Steam machine, which kind of takes that the other Steam, the portable one that they were pushing for the last couple of years. This is the next evolution of that, and they're getting into VR, which I think is really cool. This is a good company to compete with, Meta and the other VR companies out there.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at that announcement so we can get familiar with what they're planning to roll out. And then we're going to look a little bit at the other consoles and how they're dealing with this announcement. And Sam Time, I like this channel. He gives a funny kind of interpretation of, like, I bet you this is what happened at Microsoft when when they saw this announcement of this new competitor, and it's really funny and really relevant to what Microsoft's going to have to be thinking about as they get ready to roll out their next Xbox, which, from what I'm hearing, January 1st is their announcement.
Nice. Right around the corner.
Then another freshy channel for us, but he's not just a guitarist, he's also a gamer. And Colt Eastwood, he's going to get more into the comparison with the Xbox, the approach that they're going to be taking in the future, which is real interesting. I think Microsoft isn't just sitting on their laurels to deal with this. Um, there might be a bunch of different Xbox or Xbox clones from what I'm gathering. Looks like they might be opening up the ecosystem to different hardware vendors. So if you see an Asus Xbox next year, don't be surprised.
There you go. Yep. Getting out from that stock car racing.
Yeah. And then TCMF Games Official can't ignore Sony in all of this. I still think right now Sony's in the best position as far as the consoles go, especially with some of the games that they have planned coming out next year. I've seen some previews of Wolverine that
Nice.
between Wolverine and Grand Theft Auto 6, like PlayStation's still in great shape.
Sure.
Especially
it was my favorite for many years, PlayStation.
Yeah, if those games are exclusive over there, even for a little while, that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And then after we look at those console comparisons, I started thinking about the technology behind the equipment, especially now that we're looking at like a console that is a PC in a console box.
Right.
And USB. I mean, you remember how confusing it was going from USB 1 to USB 2 to USB 3 and oh, what's the difference between the blue tongue and the black tongue and USB 1 and turns out like the latest USB generations going into 3 and USB-C, they're more complicated than I thought.
Sure.
And I assume that Thunderbolt and USB-C were pretty much the same thing because they use the same plug. They're not. And I think it's important to actually understand that, not just for the console side, because these new consoles in the future, chances are they're going to be taking advantage of these newer technologies, whether you're dealing with a Thunderbolt device or a USB C or USB 4, which is now out. I think it's going to be important for people to know what they actually have and pay attention to your cables, especially because even though you can plug them in, they got the same plugs, the cables don't have the same performance.
Yeah. I always loved the original USB. The fact that you would plug it in wrong twice. Like you plug it in and it doesn't fit, so you flip it over. You plug it in, it still doesn't fit, so you flip it over again. Now it fits. It's like how did it not fit the first time?
I've actually had clients that I had to deal with broken USB ports because they're so damn stubborn that like make it fit, and they would break their USB ports trying to plug it in wrong.
Yep. Seen
Like,
it before.
there's a reason why it doesn't fit.
It's trying to stop you.
Yeah. And then after the USB specs, we're going to take a look at Bluetooth 6 because at this point, it's out there. Devices are starting to get sold that are starting to support it, specifically headphones. They're trying to finally get a Bluetooth that I don't know if musicians per se are necessarily gonna like accept the speed and the spec, but people who audiophiles, the people who like to listen to music and want that wireless with Bluetooth headphones, this new USB or Bluetooth 6 might finally be at that point where you can hear true uncompressed audio that doesn't sound all mushy and has latency, we'll see what Superstar Review does, what it says. And then to finish things off, I just installed the Wi-Fi 7 router last night. We upgraded. It's got a mesh network, so I've got 2 satellites, can get 6,000 feet of coverage. So I can now go out to the barn and get an internet connection. And right off the bat, as soon as I had it set up, I started doing speed tests across different machines, wireless, to see how this router is like improving our situation. And my uploads especially noticed a big difference, 4 or 5 times improvement over the speeds that I was getting before.
Yeah, and uploads where it's going to be key, because that is where you're bottlenecked the most, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I do a lot of uploading between, like, pushing things to Restream or pushing things to YouTube. It's the uploading side that I really needed the improvement. The downloads seem to be the same as they were before. With our we had the Wi-Fi 6 AX. It didn't really change the downloads too much, but significant difference on my uploads.
Sure.
Yeah, and this one's going to be coming from Ultimate Tech Hub, another freshie, a tech channel. Like, thank God we get to cover some of this tech. We get fresh channels.
Gotta love it. Get some good feeds in there.
And I did have 2 videos at first for the Wi-Fi 7. One that was specifically to explain, the specs of it. But I chose this one instead because not only does he explain the same things that the other one did, but he does a good job of saying proceed with caution with Wi-Fi 7, because there are some obstacles to overcome. So before you go running out and grabbing a $500 Wi-Fi 7 router, you should take a look at this.
Yep. Nice.
And nobody talks about it, but we will.
Right. Good plan.
Yeah.
We cover digital audio workstations and music tools. We explore theory, gear, and 82. How to arrange, compose, and the art of arranging. Taking a look at AI and how the times have changed. On a PC or a Mac, and even with a mobile device, we'll be talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and sets that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin IT. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much RAM. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking IT. We're talking IT. Every Thursday night on Angified.
Are you gonna spread love? Are you gonna spread love or hate?